This is Self-Maximize. It is a mind map designed to help you self-reflect and self-improve, especially in terms of your dating market value. Why am I qualified to tell you how to do this? Well, I once went from being about a 4 to about an 8. Moving from here to here is one of the greatest things you can do for yourself. Look at all these nice colorful lines. Those are attention. And I accomplished that by losing 100 pounds while getting jacked, learning how to dress, eliminating my insecurities, working on my social skills, seeking information and learning independently, moving across the country, following a dream very successfully, which was then destroyed by COVID, moving across the country again, and then starting this social media channel, which now has millions and millions of views, and I make a living on it, and it's only been 7 months. Achieving these things transformed me from a total loser into, well, you should see my options right now. Self-Maximize is based partially on another mind map called Integral Theory. I made my own version of it for easy understanding. If you like understanding things more easily, you can also try Shortform, the sponsor of this video. We all want to learn more than we have time for. If you're like me, you probably get a lot of books, but you don't finish every word in them. This one says, "Welcome, meme lord. I used to make these note cards for books I read. And now I don't have to. Look how organized, and they even have exercises." Shortform takes your favorite books and articles and makes them easier to digest. I use Shortform to read about woke washing, philosophy, self-improvement, motivation. It makes it so easy. You get these short summaries and these major points distilled down to notes. This one is particularly relevant. Sign up now through this URL and get a free trial with unlimited access and 20% off an annual subscription. Go to shortform.com/hellmath and learn faster. To learn faster about how to self-maximize, pay attention to these 7 things. What self-maximize basically means is, if you know what you want and you can change your mind and the things that you do, then the world around you will give you a different and hopefully better result. This map is a flow chart of how that works, and you can consult it to figure out what you might be missing. Originally, self-maximize was just going to be an in-depth explanation of what you need to do for every individual category on zones, and I'm still going to go over those, but the more I wrote, the more I found that I can't give everyone advice at once. This is 23 pages. In later videos, I might go into detail on things like fitness, diet, fashion, social status, but that's too much for one video. So instead, I'm just showing you how I did it. It's based on getting feedback from your environment and responding to it thoughtfully. I also included some of the exercises I did on the Self-Maximize PDF packet, which is for sale on my Patreon. So I'm going to do 2 things in this video. I'm going to go over this checklist that explains zones in more detail, and I'm going to show you how to think about them using this map. Here's how the map works. These gray arrows represent how life works unconsciously when you're not thinking about it. Everything in your life starts with a desire, like I'm hungry, or I have to go to work, or I want a girlfriend, and then those desires become mental, they become thoughts, and then they become your behaviors, which then go into your environment, which reacts to them, and those reactions become your life. When you experience your life, you get feedback, and then you have the opportunity to think about it and change what you do, which is where most people fail. So this map encourages you to think of things out of order. Start by recognizing what you want, and then begin thinking about where would be the best place to get it before you begin to design your behaviors. I've broken each of these sections down with questions that help you think about them and exercises to help change the way you think. These are designed to increase your consciousness. Why does consciousness matter? I've made a lot of videos about women saying things like, "I'm a 10, you're a 10, we're all 10s, everyone's perfect. I am the table" is a popular one. It basically means I don't have to provide anything, but you do. The male version of this is, I want her to like me for me and not for any of the actual reasons that women might like men. This style of thinking is low consciousness. It is self-interested. It is egocentric. It sees others as a means to an end. Basically, they should like you, and not as individuals who have their own things that they like. So some people want things, but they forget about what the world wants from them, and they never think about how they could provide those things. So to summarize self-maximize, it's basically don't be this. Don't just say, "Oh, me, my needs. Who's gonna like me for me?" Be this, and then look for somebody who is willing to be that for you. Here, like this. And if you can become more conscious of how to become those things, your life gets better really fast. In other words, you cannot not make people like you just have to be what they like. Here are some failures to do that. Like I said, I got in really good shape, but I wasn't able to make very much money until recently, so a lot of women would enter my life but then also leave. I had a lot of attractive traits, so I got a lot of this, but I did not have many reliable traits, so I didn't get much of that. What I failed to do was change my mind and my behaviors in a way that made the world want to give me money. So I had a desire that was not realized, and I failed to understand that this was the only way I could change it. Example number 2. I used to have a Russian friend with a scar on his face. Russia's pretty cool. And he said he wanted to get rid of his accent. He talked very heavy Russian accent. You know how it goes. So I go, that's great. I can help with that. You remember a minute ago when you asked me to open the window? And he goes, yes. And I go, okay, instead of saying window, say window. Instead of E, say eh. And he goes, no. This is stupid. So he wanted to change his accent and never got what he wanted because he ignored his feedback and didn't change his thoughts. Example number 3. A fan of mine told me people say he comes off a little froofy. So we get on webcam and I go, all right, your sweatshirt is a little froofy. And he goes, what's wrong with being comfortable? And I say, okay, your haircut is not working for you. And he goes, I've seen popular guys with this haircut. And I go, all right, dude, your mustache is stereotypically froofy. And he goes, it's just the lighting. It would look different if you were in the room with me. So keep the problem then. What do you want from me? One last example. I'm talking to a girl at a party. She says men are being too forward with me on Tinder. So I look at her profile and it's all bikini pictures. And I go, well, there's your problem. You're half naked in front of thousands of men. And she goes, excuse me, I'm allowed to be proud of my body. And yeah, you are allowed to do this, but this is what you get if you do it. And you don't have the power to change that. That's not how the world works. So in all of these examples, these people wanted something and they were shown what they needed to change in order to get it, and they resisted making those changes, so they kept their behaviors the same and did them in front of the same people in the same ways and got the same results. This map is here to remind you how not to do that. So I already gave you zones and I added a checklist. Your job is to think about each one of these things using this map. You should think about all 7 sections throughout your day. So whether you are or are not getting what you want, you should become conscious of why that is and then do it either more or less. And if you have a problem with that, then figure out what it is about yourself that needs to change. That process is how I did all of these things, especially this one. When I'm creating content, I'm thinking about what do I want that content to do and who am I showing it to. I've tried a lot of different things and each one gives me different feedback. So I look at it all carefully and then I change and grow. The same process applies for every part of your life. You are basically designing yourself. You can download the map for free or buy the packet. Think of it as a miniature personal coaching session. It's a system of self-reflection that you can apply to all of these categories. Basically, what am I doing that fills these boxes for the person I'm looking for? I also made a list of what I think those areas are for the average person. In the future, I might make videos for each specific area. So let's go through the list. I'm going to start with men, obviously. I've said before that just be nice and just be yourself is the worst advice that modern men get. It leads to a lot of wasted time. Most of you need to start with body and masculinity first. That's why they're first on the list. The most important aspect of attraction is physical. That's basically everything about your body. Now, there are some things that you cannot change, like your height or your facial symmetry, at least not without surgery, which I don't recommend. So you're going to be focusing on being in shape, dressing well, the way that you act, and taking care of yourself. I don't have any before pictures of myself, but it was kinda like this guy. And this is pretty much the best I ever looked. This is a few years ago. That moved me from this area to this area, from here to here, with most women. Life changed. I think most men underestimate how much women like good bodies. It's probably more than us. So I was always pursuing women, the same group of women with varying degrees of success, until one day I changed my mind about how I should live my life, changed my diet and exercise routine and my appearance, and all of a sudden the same old behaviors started to have very different results for the same group of women. That was my feedback that this was the big change that made everything different. So that's what this checklist is. It's my notes on what you probably need to improve first. Keep that in mind as I go through them one by one. So like I said, fitness is super important, and if you are ignoring it, stop ignoring it. I might go into all these things in detail in later videos, but for now this is just a brief overview. Most most men should be building muscle, losing fat, and like if you can pick up your girlfriend and carry her upstairs. They love things like that. Next, we have fashion. If you dress like this guy, yeah, you might be comfortable, but how are other people gonna feel about you? Start thinking about it that way. Appropriate means look the best you can for what you're doing. I have 2 winter coats. This one is for shoveling snow. This one is for talking to girls. Put together means everything goes together. Some of you are dressing like this. See how nothing matches or is in order? Here's what that looks like. These things are also not very nice. There's nothing wrong with this shirt, but it's hanging off of him. That looks sloppy. You don't have to dress like this every day, but usually there's no reason not to other than laziness. This could be a solid t-shirt if you want. What's important is that the colors go together and it fits his body. Expressive means adding a touch of your own personality. Again, this guy has some of that here and here. I used to wear things like this. I got compliments on it. Figure out what works for you. Here's how not to be expressive.
It reminds me of like an old friend.
Yeah.
This guy is fit enough, his shirt fits, he's standing up straight, he's medium attractive, he has a decent haircut, but he insisted on wearing a dork shirt and autism glasses, and it ruined his chances. A lot of guys don't like this advice. They say, I want her to like me for me. But remember, if you show people this, you get this. What are you showing people? What do the people think and feel about it? How do they react? How do you like it? And what can you change? Mannerisms. You need to stand up straight, talk like a man, and stop doing things that are gross or annoying. Some of you are walking around hunched over like this with your autism glasses on, and it's not very becoming. I had one client who was very tall and very smart, but he was too excitable in the whole session. Everything he was saying, he was talking like this really fast, and oh my god, and girls don't like that. That's a reasonable ick. He's too affected by his own thoughts and ideas. This guy again, he kind of talked like this, like he went up at the end of his sentences, and I pointed that out to him, and he did fix it, and he said it worked right away. One thing I did was I actually used a camera to look at myself, and I looked too much like this, so I fixed my posture. Grooming definitely needs its own video. I broke that down into hygiene and haircut. Your haircut and your facial hair need to fit your face. One mistake a lot of people make is they go, I want to look like that guy, and it's never going to happen. And if you don't know how your look is working for you, there's only one way to find out. I just asked women I was attracted to. I said, what should I do with my hair? And they told me, and I did it, and they liked it. That feedback is critically important for this process of change. I don't know how to talk about hygiene, but I know I have to. I spoke with another dating coach recently, and he said he's basically at the point where he asks his clients, do you wash your butt? Because some of them don't. So I don't know what's going on out there. This is basically my reaction to that. So I want to introduce the concept of perfect hygiene, and I want you to use women as a role model. Women are meticulous. They shower, they tweeze, they blow dry, they moisturize, they shave, they scrape skin off, and they apply makeup, and they do it every day. You should be perfect. You should leave nothing like women. This is the least you should be doing every time you go out. Take a shower, a thorough shower, comb your hair, brush your teeth, put on fresh clothes, don't reuse them, wear deodorant, and bring gum with you. I have recommendations on my linktree. If you're not doing that, then you probably smell, and that might be why some people don't like you. Imagine if women stank. So that's body. If you can get in shape, dress like an adult, stand up straight and speak confidently, don't run away with your thoughts, and be fresh all the time, then that's going to solve a lot of your problems. Being funny isn't going to matter if you're fat and you smell. Okay, now masculinity, competence, and confidence. Once you look and smell good, then you have to act like a man. I broke these down in the checklist. Power is an aphrodisiac. That's a quote by Henry Kissinger, and he ought to know. Power is your ability to make things happen or to stop things from happening. It's not enough to just have ideas. You have to be able to make them real. One of the ways we do that is with money, and I mean, God help you there. One of the main reasons I make content is to show how things have changed and men can't really get power through money anymore, which causes women to reject them more. If something is happening to an entire population at once, it's probably not your fault. I'm just encouraging you not to think that money doesn't matter. It does, and it always will. I also put the word control on here because power is about making things go your way. Read the 48 Laws of Power. I made these note cards for myself. I might sell them one day. As I put those principles to work and changed the way I think about myself and about how people work, I started taking different actions, and the people around me started giving me what I want. It was pretty cool. Status, respect, importance, and dominance, they're all parts of hierarchy, and we're never getting rid of this. Women don't want to be with this guy. If you can't get to the top of a group that you're in, find a group that you can get to the top of. Women might say everyone should be equal, but it's just a strategy. They are still going to rank you as a man. Watch Who is a 10 again. When you have status, you will make weak people feel insecure. You will have powerful friends. It's not enough to be a lone wolf or a nice guy. That's not gonna get you anything. Finally, skills. They can be practical or not. What's important is that you are good at something that she values. Women like this more than this, so they like him more than him. Sometimes I tell guys to stop playing video games for this reason, and they say, there are some girls that like video games, but that's bad math. You can't just say someone out there will like whatever I become. If this is how much men and women like video games or Rubik's Cubes or whatever, and you spend all your time getting really good at them, you're appealing to this. For confidence, I put frame and presence. Frame is deciding what's going to happen, sticking to it, and letting her know that you've got it handled. But it also has to bring her something that she wants, which she might not tell you. This is an example of letting her set the frame and then you follow it and she doesn't like it. In other words, you can't just boss her around. You've got to be able to make her life better without always asking her how. Presence is how much you come through in your interactions. These examples from earlier are bad presence. This guy doesn't feel great about being seen, and this guy is running off in his own world. This guy made a lot of decisions about who he wants to be, but they weren't giving women confidence in him. Here's the high status guy from Who is a 10 again. He's saying, I'm awesome, I can make things happen. If you be around me, good things will happen to you. He's not just saying, I like to relax. So masculinity is about being able to create what you want, prevent what you don't want, and then show off that you are the make things happen guy. And that's the entire bad boy axis. Look good and make good things happen. Once you become popular, you're going to have to start treating women well to keep them around. That's going to mean investing value, looking good and making her look good, reserving your investment for her, and tailoring your life to her needs. The bonus galaxy is basically a million little things that you have, but not necessarily that you are. Investment is everything you give her. Time is the time that you spend with her, but it also means the time and money that you're putting on the table. That's why women like expensive wedding rings. It proves that you put in a lot of your time. I gave somebody a handmade Valentine's card, and she liked it more than any of the things I spent money on. Attention is praise, noticing, approving, and appreciating. That means making her feel like a star. That's why social media is so bad. It makes the attention we give them less powerful. Whatever she does for you, let her know you like it. Nice haircut, thanks for dinner, I love the way you blah blah blah. Whatever she likes about herself. I don't think I need to go into money. The more you have, the more they stick around. Energy is how much you are pushing the relationship forward towards when can I see you again and happy end, and not towards you up. You can't be always busy and still have a relationship. If you wanted to, you would. Even if you give her all of that, you still have to be personally close. Emotional closeness doesn't mean crying and being weak. It means telling her the deeper things about you, like how you feel about art or a movie that you're watching together. Or it could be something simple like, I love watching this bird with you. This connection has to be there. Presentability is your reputation and how good you make her look. It's kind of like the good guy version of status. It's not how much power you have, it's how likable you are. So status is how much people need you for power or favors or something, and presentability is how much people think you're a great guy. I used to run important events in a city, and people would come to me and they would say, can you do me a favor? I was a guy to know. That's status. I also used to give people free rides around town because I had a car and it was easy. And people would say, he's such a nice guy. It's a different kind of being a guy to know. It's good to have both of these if you can, but it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. So I guess Machiavelli agrees with me that bad boy stuff matters more. Your life should look like this. Loyalty is pretty simple. Loyalty is how much she believes that you're saving all your investment for her. I put dating patterns and closure in here because you can't be hanging on to old relationships. I drew these girls from your past all separated while the guys on the purity box are in a huddle. And then for present, I put focus because she's not going to want to watch you give your investment to other girls. All the necessary words are in the box. I put a lot of things for the galaxy because it's a galaxy. The reason it's a bonus is because it's not things that you are, it's things you have access to or things that happen to you, like where you grew up or if you have an apartment in the perfect spot of town. For women, this can matter quite a lot. And again, it'll be all about things she likes. So if you're a man, there's a lot you can do to self-maximize. You can look better, you can make things happen. Remember, this guy was popular because he had this. And then once you have stuff, you share your stuff. It's simple when you think of it that way. Look good, make good things happen, and share them. For women, unfortunately, self-maximizing is a lot harder because there just isn't as much you can do. Basically, none of this stuff gives you any points, which is why feminism is stupid. You go, hey, look at all the stuff I did. And we go, okay, what do you need me for? And you go, nothing. And we go, okay. And you go, where have all the good men gone? So even though men do prefer women who are helpful and financially supportive and reliable, you just can't make up for these other things with it the same way that we can. Again, for women, looks are the most important. And I'm not going to go into detail on female looks maxing. I'm just going to remind you that your looks put a hard limit on which category we put you in. Men usually know right away. We go, this girl could be here for me. This girl would never make it past here. We know just from looking. So a big thing women need to understand is men can make up for looks with effort. Women usually cannot. It's hard to move up, easy to move down. Every guy will value these things differently. For example, I would rather be with a physical 5 and a personality 10 than the other way around, but we just don't work the same way as women. If I think you're a 4, for example, you are never getting past here ever, no matter what you do. So trying to earn your way into higher value like a man is not going to work very well. So if you don't want to end up in these lower boxes, your best strategy is to start with the men who like you and then get rid of the ones you don't like, rather than starting with the men you like and then getting rid of the ones who will never put in effort. That strategy is making women spend years and years stuck in here with no chance to ever leave. I put modesty under body for women because you usually don't have issues with fashion except when your idea of fashion is being half naked in front of 1,000 drunken strangers. So the same way that loyalty is how much he reserves his investment for you, purity would be how much you reserve your body for him. I'll get into purity later. So even though your body is the most important part of attraction, your personality is the most important part of forming a relationship. Let's start with interesting. Here's what that doesn't look like. She was asked what she brings to the table.
This is what I bring. So bronzer, powder, my card, lip balm, hairbrush.
So she's basically saying just this. Most women cannot get away with that. Not every woman will need to be financially supportive, but you gotta look pretty damn good if you don't have any of these. Earlier, I told men to develop skills that women like. And you don't need skills necessarily, but you should be able to talk about things he likes. I met one woman in my life who could talk about this book, and I'll never forget her. I put positive here. It seems like a lot of modern women think it's admirable to be difficult. Here's what that looks like.
Women aren't in their feminine energy anymore. Yeah, because you don't make enough to provide for us anymore, so we have to get out there in the workforce and be masculine.
That means if I'm doing this, I'm not doing any of these. That's a losing strategy. We live in difficult times. Not very many of you are going to find a provider. We basically have this many women chasing after this many men. Your odds are not good. So if you find someone on your level who needs you to contribute, treating him like he doesn't deserve these things is just self-sabotage. That brings me to supportive. Most households are dual income now. Grow up and deal with it. Most women want a man who earns more, but then they also want to be paid equally, and the math just doesn't work, as we went over. This woman blocked me because of my response to her video, but in it she said she wants emotional support from a man but does not want to be his therapist. What the hell does that mean? Modern women seem to believe that it is strong to withhold these things when they are actually what we're looking for. Finally, I put sane. I cannot tell you how many women I've met who took out their emotional damage on me from their past relationships and wouldn't admit that's what they were doing. I once had a therapist who told me that women past a certain age were the least likely to change because they wouldn't take accountability. It was a big learning moment for me. Don't ignore these things. Just use the map to self-reflect. Finally, purity. The things on this list are some of the ways that we measure how likely it is that something like this will happen. Pretty important that it doesn't.
Wifey material doesn't define what you're wearing.
This is a powerful delusion. Nobody wants his wife looking like this, and it's not moving you towards the wife zone. So I've given you a map of what people are looking for, a map to your desires, your ego, and your decisions, and a structure for how to begin changing them. I can't wait to see my feedback.